podcast, Founders Club. I know you've done a lot of work in, adopting the metaverses, and you've been building metaverses yourself for multiple governments, I should say. And let's just, I guess, jump right into that. Tell me, how did you came across, building Stark Matter and getting into the metaverse space?
So, I really looked at it from a standpoint of what's next. And I saw that the industry was consolidating. First we started with blockchain, then we went towards, various cryptocurrencies and protocols, and we went towards NFTs. We went towards, so we started to really venture out and use this very core technology and establish it in so many different ways. And then I saw that all those established new varieties, which are coming out of the original blockchain sector, were then being consolidated into this big thing, the metaverse. So, instead of just targeting one of these technologies and, focusing on that, I was just like, why don't we go after the big pie, which is the consolidation of all these tech into one place. And previously I'd done a project which focused on NFTs, fractional ownership of high-end art, and I was very familiar with the utility of NFT. I was very familiar with how these things can play together and kind of marry these existing concepts with something new like the metaverse.
Okay, now that sounds great. So I know you recently been working with, I believe, South Korean government on helping them building the metaverse. Can you tell me about that collaboration?
Right. So we have we did an initial collaboration with the South Korean government, Ministry of Tourism, on the building known as it's called the Hanbit Tower. And, it's a very famous building. I believe they held one of their, expos, World Expos, was held there. And it's so what they wanted to do was, hey, we have this very cool futuristic building. We want to kind of, keep the spirit of what it stood for going. That's where we kind of like segued into conversations about how we can incorporate the metaverse, how we can create a digital twin of the building, how we can, do unlimited things in the metaverse, which they would otherwise be limited in real life. So, you can involve small businesses to open up stores and, whether it be symbolically or for actual utility, we can do that. We can, it'll open the doors for more people to learn about that building and what the government was doing, with the expo. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. And what I like about the finally some of the governments actually getting real about the adopting metaverse as not just a buzzword like it's been about for the past year and a half, but actually finding utility for that, like you were saying. You're literally recreating the entire building. You have a digital twin with all the stores inside of that, and I believe you probably built some avatars that people can use and go about their business and their building as they would usually do in a normal life. But where do you see that goes, let's say, with the, for example, South Korea in that particular example? How far are they willing to take that?
I think that, so they do have around $200 million set aside specifically for Web3, specifically for Metaverse at large. So, the South Korean government is being very proactive in trying to really establish itself in that space. It is definitely a new thing, and I do understand why. It's not every government's cup of tea, because a lot of them are scratching their heads, still figuring out what is blockchain, what is Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean they're still in Web 2. They haven't figured what Web 3 is.
Yes. So Metaverse for them is just like light years away. They don't even want to think about it. But there are governments, who, especially out in Asia, who are looking at it as an opportunity more than they're looking at it as a headache. So that's where we come in. Yeah.
That's great. And I guess my follow-up question, how do you see the advertising and any other kind of sponsorships will fit into the monetization of the metaverse? Because at the end of the day, it's still capitalism, right? Everybody wants to make money.
So monetization, there's so many ways to go about it. I mean, depending on the business you're trying to enter into the metaverse. Um, Generally, if you have a big metaverse with lots of users, I mean, you can do a marketing agency in the metaverse. You can advertise for companies all across. So in the metaverse, while the people are walking around and all that, just like you know, if you went down to Times Square, you'd see all that
Mhm.
advertising and all of that, right? And it's paid. So now you can do subscriptions for companies to advertise in the metaverse. And then, you know, people will click, you know, hey, I like this ad, I'm going to click it, and it'll direct them, it'll transport them to the store of that company.
Okay.
And they can go virtual shopping, or it can direct them to the website and they can shop from there. Um, but also, it's a limited experience. You could provide an exclusive limited experience, which is why a lot of high-end brands are the first adopters. High-end fashion brands, they're coming into the metaverse knowing that, you know, it's a new kind of medium of kind of marketing and as well as engagement to people. Very niche way of introducing exclusive releases. You know, if you're someone like Michael Jordan and Nike, you know, you can, if you dropped a new Jordans today, there's going to be lines across the block, you know, around the block, should I say, trying to purchase those shoes. It's hectic. People don't want to wait in line. People don't want to do things. But now you can release it specifically in your metaverse store, which requires everybody to pay to play. They would buy a pass to enter your store, and then they would have a chance to be one of the first early releases. Like they would purchase the NFT ahead of time, like a pre-order, should I say. They'll be able to go into that store, have an exclusive experience with the virtual version of that shoe, and they'll get the physical equivalent when they order it. So yeah.
No, pretty much. I mean, yeah, you covered all the, you know, it's like a guideline for businesses how to make money in metaverse. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, you nail it on the head because like with all the NFTs, finally, you know, after the, I guess, collapse of NFT, of more like a self-cleansing on the NFT market, right? Where the bored apes are just getting look more bored and bored because they're losing value day after day, you know. But that's great. I mean, like NFT is a membership, and NFT is a gift card. I mean, it has a great utility. You know, I think it's the best way for businesses and individuals, you know, to leverage the metaverse, you know, to create new revenue streams and monetize the brand and content. The same for content makers, right? I mean, that's great. This is your collaboration with South Korea. I know now you've been working with some of the you know, MENA region countries such as, you know, Dubai and the, you know, metaverse adoption as well. Can you cover what projects are you looking into here?
So for MENA region, you know, of course, we did a partnership with Mobius Labs, which you know, is to kind of expand our reach in various markets, UAE and Saudi and etc., to help those governments or individuals kind of navigate this metaverse space. But also, we have done kind of like a, how you'd say, various preview and demos, early demos of metaverse potential to the government in UAE. They were interested in how to attract tourism, you know, tourist dollars, and how to showcase what they have, the best of what they have, make it interactive. So we kind of gave them, we kind of built some examples for them. Um, you know, it's what else? I'm trying to think. It's, yeah, it's overall, I would say there's a heavy interest, as long as people understand, you know, what are the steps and what is it. You know, a lot of the feedback we got was always, you know, they like hyper realism. They like the idea that it's realistic. You know, they don't want what's there in Minecraft or Roblox or whatever that is.
Too many pixels.
Exactly. You know, I can't imagine, you know, someone who's, you know, above the age of 10, you know, looking at it and saying this is all real, and they're looking at pixels, talking pixels. So that's kind of why where we come in. We're trying to really service a very niche within a niche. So our niche is to give customized, realistic experiences.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, definitely, it's a lot of adoption. Web3 overall, like anything to do with crypto, DeFi, and especially Metaverse, it's just a question of when, not a question of if. When it's going to be all the other. I guess governments will finally wake up and realize, oh, we are 5 years too late. Specifically, I think it has to do with education. I mean, because I've seen so many adoptions now towards education. Have you guys done any work on that front, Metaverse in education?
Yes. That's a huge topic right now, and I think it's a very good use case in a very proactive kind of way. I think that it goes back to South Korea. There's an education company in South Korea we're working with, pretty substantial one, to provide a education platform, interactive. It has AI integrated into it, which will enable, and this is kind of like the world's first kind of stuff, but it'll enable the AI to spawn virtual objects. So it's like a tutor or a teacher where a kid will ask, hey, how does a tiger look like? And then it'll instantly spawn a tiger in the metaverse. So it becomes more and more interactive. There's a, for in this use case, it's language, learning English. So, it'll help them navigate an everyday street, and then it'll kind of gamify it. So every time they say, hey, that's a bus, and that's a tree, and that's a French fries, they earn tokens, and then that tokens can be cashed out for rewards, like whether it be bags or pens or pencils, etc.
There you go. Yeah. That's how they get the pocket money, right?
yeah, exactly.
Instead of asking their parents, they'll be exploring the metaverse more, earning those tokens and cashing them out.
Exactly. I think it's it's a fun way to do it, and the kids will think that they're playing a game, but really they're just learning. It's a secret way to teach them without making it feel boring. Yeah.
No, that's a great example. And I guess the follow-up question would be, how do you see the metaverse, I guess, evolving in the next, I would say 5 to 10 years even, and probably what the opportunities and challenges, will be presented for businesses and individuals as ourselves, exploring that?
5 to 10 years, I think it'll be accelerated. I think that what we need to see, look at Metaverse as a software, and then the hardware to match the software. So, I think once, 5 to 10 years from now, the hardware will be less expensive for the masses. I think that, whatever you need, whether it be the virtual reality headsets to, the actual computers, I definitely know that Apple and Samsung, especially Apple, is doubling down, and we're going to see a lot more of virtual reality being part of their line of products. So we have the metaverse. The metaverse is going to be there. We just need more people to have the hardware.
Yeah, the adoption, but adoption comes from cheap and reliable hardware. So you're not putting like a helmet on or Oculus goggles that gives you headache, right?
They don't want to do that.
You can wear them for more than 30 seconds. That would be amazing. That's why like a lot of metaverse projects that I see these days, and they're tapping into virtual reality. I always tell them, guys, think about the hardware, because for virtual reality is millions of people. If you do it on a Web 2 browser, well, it's billions of people. So the adoption is much, much faster, and then you can transition in the next, I guess, 3 years, probably, give or take. We'll be able to have some great, just like sunglasses kind of style, which lets you, use them on a daily basis, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. I think once you get the price point down, but also education is a big part of it, because, this is one of those technologies where there's technically no real reason to just put on a set of headphones and just sit there for hours. So we need to, within the next, this would probably take another couple of years to educate the existing audience who are familiar with smartphones and this and this and that, maybe there will be a case where some people fall off. They just say, not for me. And then other people are like looking at it like, yeah, this is the next step of the internet. I have to be here. So yeah.
Okay, I mean, definitely that's interesting. And I guess, how do you see the society and culture will change with the mass adoption of metaverse? Is it going to be like in Matrix? We're just all gonna, live in the capsules connected to some tubes fitting us and living in the metaverse 24/7?
I think it's going to be a big question. We're going to have to be careful. I think we've already seen what even the simplest things like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all these things can do to people in terms of their mental health and all that. So we don't know how immersing yourself in, for hours in a virtual world will do to your brain, to be honest with you.
I mean, we already see some effects, like you mentioned. TikTok, yeah.
Right. People can't even handle Instagram. So
yeah.
I don't see. So and it also brings into a bigger question of, is it for everyone, and should we portray it as though it should be for everyone? I think that it should be for those who want it, and for those people who don't want it, should still be able to have experiences and be able to connect with companies and brands just as they were before the metaverse. If you don't want it to be the case that in the future all the brands are in the metaverse and there's no real like shopping malls or anything to go to, you're just stuck at home and you just have to put on these headphones, right?
Or feel like it was like that Black Mirror episode.
Definitely, yeah. There's another issue, but it's more of an ethical issue. It's a consciousness issue. The generation from now, the question is, will consciousness exist? Human consciousness. Humans will exist, but will our natural consciousness exist? Because we will be so immersed in technology, we won't even all this information will be derived and provided by institutions, right? So will free thought even exist, right? Because is it just us formulating existing ideas which have been fed to us?
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's where the AI comes in, and I have to ask you because these days everybody is talking about Chat GPT and all the AI technology that, I feel like I overslept this revolution. I just woke up one day that everybody is an expert on AI, and it's been here for 5 years.
Honestly, yeah, there's going to be a lot of quote unquote experts, but Chat GPT is just a language learning model. Which is a little different from AI. Okay, so language learning models are basically, you input words, and then the other side, the Chat GPT side, anticipate what are the combination of words to provide back as a, to create an accurate conversation or connection. So you say hi, I say hello, right? But if you say hi, I don't say pizza Mexico. It doesn't make sense. So these are language learning models, and they get more and more refined, and they'll be more and more predictable as more and more people engage them. They'll be able to be like, okay, I know the next steps of this conversation. I've already had it before. So we're going to hopefully shift away from these language learning models. They are still problematic. People should not make the mistake of thinking these things are absolutely telling the truth. All they are is a more interactive Google search engine.
Of course.
And Google search can get searches wrong. Just like that, you should anticipate.
People trust everything. If it's on the internet, it should be true, right?
So there was a case actually of a guy, a professor. He looked up. He just asked the ChatGPT, "Hey, search all the any type of firings which have happened, professors who got fired for bad conduct, illegal activities." And then he searched up, and then it provided a list of names of real professors. Okay. And then he found a name of a professor who he knows on the list. He's like, wait, I know this guy. Why is he on this list? He's done nothing wrong. And then it asked him, what did he do? And then it explained to him some bogus story it created out of thin air about this professor, doing something bad. And then he's like, okay, provide citations. It provided bogus citations, titles of headlines of like, oh, Washington Post headline. He searched it, nothing shows up. He asked for multiple citations. It just made it all up. So that's the other problem, right? Which is kind of why it's dangerous, because I think we have to also protect our consciousness and our own freedom of thought while using this as an assistant, but not letting it think for us. I think that's what people need to kind of.
Okay, yeah, I mean that no, it's true. Like you have to be careful because I mean it creates those like you said bogus stories with citations, and it sounds very believable, but at the end of the day, it's not.
Right.
It's
like you ask it, what is 1 + 1? It'll say 2. You ask it common knowledge questions, it'll give you common knowledge answers, which you can confirm. But then you'll quickly grow dependent on it, thinking, oh, well, now it knows this, and I challenged it with basic questions. I'm going to ask it the hard-hitting stuff which you cannot verify yourself. And most people use Chat GPT because they don't have the time to verify, do the research, put in citations. They just want.
They just don't want to. The problem is people are just being lazy, you know. Like
what it is, in fact, it's laziness, and it's just fast. Food. It's just fast food thinking.
Yeah,
so
it's you're right. I mean, I think. I read the article the other day that Samsung Corporation banned Chat GPT for the employees because first of all, its data privacy goes to some unknown company. It's not just Chat GPT, right? Because they're putting all the data.
Corporate questions. That's right. You're disclosing it freely.
Yeah. And where does it go? Who stores it, right? How are they going to use it?
Yeah, I read the article the other day that Samsung Corporation banned Chat GPT for the employees because first of all, its data privacy goes to some unknown company. It's not just Chat GPT, right? Because they're putting all the data very,
ask corporate questions. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. And where does it go? Who stores it, right? How are they going to use it?
if you put in your company's trade secrets and all this stuff and you're just trying to formulate a contract of some kind or some document, and you're just a little intern and you're putting in key information, and then tomorrow your competitor asks, hey, give me an example of XYZ reports in this sector, in this industry, and then suddenly your information pops up, so there's a lot of people like to get ahead of themselves, but this technology has a long way to go. Has a long way.
Especially if you think about the morals of this whole story and ethics. Yeah, it's a whole different story.
Exactly. Knowledge is not just meant to be provided; it's meant to be retained.
Exactly.
If your lawyer uses ChatGPT, fire him.
That's definitely crazy. And what do you think is going to be the use of AI and machine learning for Metaverse? How is it going to affect it?
AI, machine learning for the Metaverse. As mentioned, AI will probably help people navigate the Metaverse, teach them, learn, and manage the Metaverse. I think that it will also provide. I would say a very easy experience. You don't have to create a building anymore if you're a game developer or something like that. Now you can try to make it so that you just ask the AI, hey, make me a skyscraper in this Metaverse, and then it'll just create a unique structure. So I think it'll help. It'll be very assistive technology.
Okay. That's true. I think the last question about the Metaverse, I'll ask, what do you recommend to the young guys and girls, I guess the young minds, how to enter the Metaverse space these days, and of course, how to make money in it, how to monetize your skills?
So I would definitely tell young people to be part of it, be present. I would say try to play on the various platforms. I don't care if it's the Minecraft stuff, the Roblox stuff, I don't care. Be there, because that is valuable skills. Because there's going to be a market by the time they graduate, whether it's high school or college, or it doesn't matter. By the time they graduate, there's going to be a job market specifically looking for people who know how to navigate, teach, and there's going to be a whole jobs list of jobs for them. So be present, play around with it. Just play around with it. How do you make money out of it? Early on, you need to I would say you can do tutoring classes. You can tutor people on how to use the metaverse. If you know yourself, you know, it's if you know it, tutor people, teach them, guide them through it, charge whatever you want per hour. You know, make some. It's a good side hustle.
Yeah, make some coin. I mean, it's perfect. Yeah, I mean, teach what you know. I mean, definitely. If you know this subject, I mean, you can, you know, become, like you said, metaverse expert, or, you know, metaverse, I guess, another info business kind of guy, you know.
Exactly.
It's definitely great.
Yeah, that's just one angle for like a kid. I mean, I don't know what a kid would, what else a kid would do, but I mean, of course, there's lots of kids who are actually, you know, doing stuff in the metaverse. They're creating NFTs and selling it in the metaverse and all that, but that's not for everybody. I mean, that's like, you know, very niche, but yeah.
Of course.
Great. Listen, I know you've done a lot of work around the blockchain technology, and you also at some point have been advising the White House on the matters of crypto and blockchain. Would you share some of the, you know, about that, like how that been, and what is the, I guess, at this point in United States, around the regulatory landscape, you know, with crypto, what are they looking at, and what's hot, what's not?
Okay. So, I mean, that's a pretty big question. Basically, the U.S. government's position, and I took this position when everybody else didn't. The question was posed to me on an interview about which country is the leader, you know, where does America stand in terms of this whole blockchain and crypto stuff? This was back in 2019, I think. And everybody was saying, well, America's lagging behind, America's a loser, America this, America that.
Okay.
I was probably one of the few people who had the opposite idea. And this is exactly why you shouldn't use Chat GPT, because it'll probably give you the popular opinion. You should formulate, it won't give you, you should formulate your own thoughts, because I had the opposite idea. I said, no, America's actually on top. It's on top. Even though it's not proactively creating regulations, it's not proactively, you know, all like hyper and interested about the stuff. It's on top because it's paying attention. It's being patient. See, all the countries who were so quick to hop on the bandwagon, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They just hopped on just for clout, just for branding and marketing. And look at Malta, case in point.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, everybody's looking. Everybody comes in. We love crypto.
blockchain capital. Where is it now? Estonia, for example. Malta was terrible because they opened the doors for all kind of shady characters to come in, and because all the crypto can be parked there, tax free, et cetera, all it did was attract a lot of criminals to come in there. And then also Malta was never known for its tax laws, tax codes. It was, you know, that's Cayman, that's Switzerland. These guys are, it's in their DNA to be who they are. But Malta was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna be a cool guy, and they opened the doors. Bam! Within a few years, the prime minister who actually set up that whole thing with the experimental thing, he gets, like, I think he got arrested for like being part of a murder or something. Some crazy stuff. But the point is, it all goes downhill, right? People, the Malta then changes its tone and says, oh, we're now going to tax crypto. And then all the people with crypto are like, okay, bye. Like, they're like, okay, whatever. Like, nice knowing you, friend. That's exactly what happened. And same thing can be said about other places. And, you know, even in the Middle East, a lot of those countries, they reduced their exposure to crypto drastically. It was not like a thing anymore for them. They were like, you know, I think I took too many hits on this sector. I'm gonna kind of switch it up. But they were also yelling on the loudspeaker about crypto. So it kind of became like so where does the US stand in all of this? It's not one of them, right? It just sat there and watched everybody else get burnt. And then they revisited it. I mean, they didn't even have to. They just said, I'm not going to expose this stuff to my investors at large, whether it be retail or institutional. I'm not going to do it at large until we've got a grip on what it is. So that's where I would say that the U.S. government has been pretty good Now, of course, it's very subjective because it depends on the administration. So the current administration is pretty anti-crypto,
Yeah.
which kind of sucks because crypto is part, as mentioned originally in this conversation, is this consolidation of all of these technologies which make the metaverse. So crypto will be a part of the metaverse. Now, how is that possible if, you know, now you're saying this particular thing cannot be
You're banning the crypto? I mean, there's no metaverse. I mean, how you gonna?
Yeah, it becomes yes,
yeah.
exactly. So you're taking some of the key parts away, and also trying to redefine NFTs. Where does the NFT? How does it play in? Blah blah blah. So it depends on the previous administration was more hands off. I would say they were just doing their due diligence. But this administration is more like, hey, at every corner they want to kind of deliver a blow to the industry. So
yeah, it's kind of, if it's any kind of, you know, digital asset, I mean, it becomes a security, right? Any token, anything becomes a security.
and it's you know, look what they're doing to what's that guy's name? XRP, Ripple.
No, Ripple, yeah.
Yeah, the SEC is harassing them every day of the week.
Yeah, it's like subpoena after subpoena, you know. What did you have for? Yeah.
Subpoenaing someone's like, hey, you're doing something. You say, what am I doing? I don't know, but you're doing it, and I'm subpoenaing you.
I mean, what are the rules of the game, right? Like, how do I play the game?
That's the thing. They won't tell you the rules, but they'll tell you to comply. And then you're like, what am I complying with? The rules. It's like, what are the rules?
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. So I guess my question about that, what do you think should be the government, you know, approach to regulation of crypto, and I guess the balance between, you know, the innovation and consumer protection, so to speak?
Okay, I think the government should be very careful not to give overexposure of crypto to its average everyday individual. I think that that's fair because, I mean, you know, it's not you know, I mean, lots of people, we hear all these big stories of people winning big in crypto. Fine, you know, these Bitcoin millionaires or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we never hear the countless stories of grandmas, grandpas mortgaging their house because their 7-year-old nephew told them, hey, this is a good idea, or the 10-year-old or the 11, 12, 13, doesn't matter. But, you know, they burnt money. They lose their homes. They go broke. They go through their life savings. It's a sad story. People, you know, commit suicide. I mean, it gets bad, but no one talks about that. They just want to talk about the win, the flashing lights. So it is important that we do take care of it out of public interest. That's the whole point of government, right? It's not for corporate interest, it's for public interest. So as long as they keep it safe. Now, when it concerns companies, you know, they should give more leeway to companies because the whole point of capitalism, the whole point of American capitalism is take risk, right? If the companies are saying, screw it, you know, whether win or lose, we're going to find out, then that's their right. You know, the government.
Of course, it's I mean, all the startups, all the small and medium enterprises is the backbone of the country. I mean, without them, there's no country. I mean, who's going to create jobs? Who's going to pay taxes, right? Who's going to, you know, build you know, all this new tech and everything?
The sector needs to exist. The sector needs to exist in America because, well, what are we going to lead in tomorrow, right? We need to lead in many things, and we can't just pick and choose what we want to lead in because then you're literally depriving the same public sector you're trying to protect, the public, you're depriving them of the opportunities from entering and getting jobs and all of these things, right? And what's the point? You're teaching now there's blockchain degrees, blockchain this, that, crypto that degrees, and a lot of colleges are offering classes and degrees. Now, what the hell is the point of that if there's no job outlook in America for those degrees, right? So you want to match the markets, not try to, you know, do your.
I guess it falls into a question: how can the crypto industry and the companies work with regulators and the government, I guess, to create more stable and predictable, you know, regulatory environment where they can all innovate and thrive?
I think a sandbox approach. A sandbox approach is like, you know, you have a framework. A government gives you a framework, a playground for you to come in and showcase and play around, and they'll learn with you, right? It's like it's a joint partnership between the private sector and the government, where they come together and they say, hey, we want to bring in crypto services and products to the public. But we need to work together on this, because obviously you guys don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to regulate this, because you don't even know what it is. So let's bring our expertise and match it with your policymakers, your analysts. Let's come together, and the government will say, hey, just to test it out, we're going to do like a small soft launch of XYZ product, right? Just to see how it goes. And from there, we'll see what type of licenses and how things can be kind of altered to fit crypto. Now, the other thing you want to remember is CBDC. FedNow is released. FedNow is the it's sort of like, I don't know, Cash App or Venmo or Zelle or something like that. But it's basically a government-issued government-issued wallet, if you will.
Of course.
Now, this is also kind of interesting to me, because then it's kind of saying that the government is not really saying no to crypto. They're just saying that they should be the only ones handling it. Now, that's problematic, because that doesn't really say too much about public interest. It just says about the government's own private agenda on this, right?
I mean, it's so interesting, definitely. I mean, it's a way to go for both, the crypto companies and the government, I guess, kind of come together. That's why we need people like you there, come to Congress and explain to them, where we stand, the regulations and the crypto market overall. That at the end of the day, everybody's trying to benefit and just play by the rules. We just have to set the guidelines and the set of rules to play by, and then I think everybody would be happy.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. We're going to see more of it. I think all people need to do is pay attention and be present. I think that's the best you can do, is be present. Even if you don't want to, of course, even if you don't want to buy a Bitcoin, don't do it. No one needs to buy a Bitcoin, but at least learn about how there's this entirely huge new digital economy, which came out of nowhere within the past decade, which is worth over $1 trillion. And, you don't, as a business or as an entrepreneur or whatever, go where the money is going. Right? The money's going digital. Go and figure it out and see what you have, and go to those events. I'm sure there's lots of local Bitcoin or crypto events, community clubs set up for, to learn or engage people in this stuff. There's a lot of, YouTube is a huge resource. I mean, people just need to YouTube all of these things, figure it all out. Within a few hours, you'll have a gist of what's going on. I think if you're aware, you're present.
I mean, exactly.
Well, you can also use Chat GPT, but use it with caution. Do your own research.
Yeah.
They'll
tell you that it's Satoshi Nakamoto.
Exactly. Well, listen, Jaian, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for being on our podcast, and would love to see you as our expert and speaker in our Founders Club, so you can teach people more about the adoption of blockchain and crypto, and of course metaverses.
Awesome. No, looking forward as well, and thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you.